in February 1991, a play premiered in the town of Bromley, in the county of Kent, in England. In April, it transferred to the West End, running for 6 weeks. The West End is London's equivalent of Broadway in New York, if you don't know. The intriguing thing about this play is that it was written in 1940 and had gone unproduced for 51 years. The play failed to find a producer, but Hollywood took note. The play,
everybody comes to Rick's,
formed the basis for arguably the greatest movie ever, Casablanca. Yes, I know there are those who say Citizen Kane, and there are votes for The Godfather, and a lot of young whippersnappers say The Return of the King. But in the end, it's all subjective and depends on your criteria. For me, it's Casablanca and always will be. But that's not why we're here. We're here because Casablanca is, as of this recording, 84 years old. And most YouTube movie reactors are millennials who have a reputation of being totally unaware that the universe existed before they were born. Casablanca was originally watched by their great-grandparents. The reactors generally have no idea who the actors were or what the socio-political atmosphere was at the time, or much of anything. I've been here before, with a handful of videos explaining The Longest Day, and one about Airplane, both of which dealt with similar generation gap issues. Links in the description. So let's see what we can do to let these youngsters know what they're missing.
Does this movie take place in Africa?
Yes. That's where Casablanca is. While the details may not be quite historically accurate, the refugee trail from Europe across the Mediterranean to Oran and across the desert to Casablanca, then to Portugal, was a thing. Now, before we actually get into the story, remember what I said. The reactors generally have no idea who the actors were. Now, I may have overstated that a bit, but
Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. Obviously names that I know, but I don't think I've seen them in a movie before.
I looked at the cast list, and I did not recognize any names that I personally knew of.
Humphrey Bogart. Do you recognize that name?
No.
I do for some reason. Humphrey Bogart?
Kind of feels like it should be in like a children's storybook.
Yeah.
What do you know about Casablanca?
I know it's got Humphrey Bogart, I think. I'm pretty sure they wear like hats. Oh, Claude Rains! Well. Hey, so I don't actually know what Humphrey Bogart looks like. So, like, is that him?
Yes.
Okay. And that's Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
Sorry. Like, how do you not know that woman?
for people who profess to be movie fans, that's kind of cringe. So we will introduce the main actors, the supporting cast, and even a few of the more minor characters, if they're interesting. And we'll explain a few of the current events of the time, where they affect the story.
To all officers, 2 German couriers carrying important official documents.
The murder of the couriers and the robbery aren't central to the story. They just explain a couple of things that happen later. These bits of paper contain images of the Cross of Lorraine, a symbol of France since the days of Joan of Arc. It was at this time the symbol of the Free French, the French government in exile in London, headed by Charles de Gaulle, that was opposed to the collaborative Vichy government in France.
Pardon, monsieur, pardon, madame. Have you not heard?
We hear very little, and we understand even less.
2 German couriers were found murdered in the desert, the unoccupied desert. This is the customary roundup of refugees, liberals, and, of course, a beautiful young girl from monsieur.
The elderly tourists and the pickpocket are totally irrelevant.
Watch yourself. Be on guard. This place is full of vultures, vultures everywhere. Everywhere.
Thank you very much.
Not at all. Au revoir, monsieur. Au revoir, madame.
Au revoir. Amusing little fellow.
This is not a German plane landing at the Casablanca airport. It's probably an American craft landing at the Van Nuys, California airport. The flying and landing scenes are obviously cheap models. In real life, it would have likely been a Junkers Ju-52, which had a low wing. Now, this appears to be a high-wing Ford trimotor, affectionately known as the Tin Goose, with its external engines removed. Now, I can find no evidence of a similarly appearing single-engine high-wing aircraft during that time period on either side. The scene was filmed at the Van Nuys, California airport. The rest of the movie was shot on sound stages on the Warner Brothers lot.
I'm actually a little worried that there might be things in the movie that at the time they just assumed the audience would immediately know without, because it's like common and everyday. And then we just didn't even know what it is.
Quite right. Since the movie was more or less real time, actually produced at the time these events would have been happening, audiences would definitely have been aware of what was going on in the world. The first of the main characters. On the left is Conrad Veidt as Major Heinrich Strasser. Now, I don't speak German, so I could only guess the name is pronounced Veidt. He had a highly successful career in Germany in the 20s and early 30s, but his wife was Jewish, so 1933 seemed like a good time to head to Britain. He came to Britain in 33 and became a citizen in 39, when he starred in The Thief of Baghdad. With the war hanging over their heads, the entire production packed up and moved to Hollywood, where he stayed. Like many German actors who came to Britain or the U.S. to escape Mustache Man, he tended to be typecast as the very people he despised. He appeared in only one more film after Casablanca, Above Suspicion, in 1943, after which he died of a heart attack. Do I really need to introduce Claude Rains? One of the finest actors of his generation. Not a movie star, an actor. His father was a stage actor, so he pretty much grew up in the theater, learning the business inside and out, largely through osmosis, and became a highly respected stage and screen actor in Britain. He was an instructor at RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, where his students included such luminaries as Laurence Olivier and John Gielgud. Not too shabby. Came to the U.S. between the wars and spent several years on Broadway before heading west. He was nominated 4 times as Best Supporting Actor, but inexplicably never won. He appeared in 8 Best Picture nominated films, including 2 which won, Casablanca and Lawrence of Arabia. He actually flunked his screen test for The Invisible Man, calling it the worst in the history of movie making. But director James Whale hired Rains anyway, remarking, "I don't care what he looks like. That's the voice I want.
Okay, his voice has been like higher. In The Invisible Man, it was very raspy.
Dooley Wilson as Sam. Wilson appeared in about 20 movies, and this was probably his biggest role. His recording of As Time Goes By showed up in the background of numerous TV shows and a number of movies. He fronted a jazz band during this period, playing drums. Dooley, his real name Arthur, did not play piano. The piano in the movie was played by Elliot Carpenter, sitting just off camera where Dooley could see him and mimic his hand movements. And Jack Benny. Huh? Did you say Jack Benny? Yep. There are sources that strongly suggest Jack had an uncredited cameo in one of the scenes at Rick's. That's sort of been accepted, but there's disagreement as to just which background character he was. The consensus seems to be this guy. Even Roger Ebert, after first expressing doubt, came around to admitting it could be him. If you watch closely, you'll recognize familiar mannerisms. Unless you're one of those reactors who also don't know who Jack Benny was.
It's the fishing smack Santiago. It leaves at 1 tomorrow night. Here from Villa de la Medina, the third boat.
Thank you, thank you.
And bring the 15,000 francs in cash. Remember, in cash.
Say so.
15,000 francs sounds like a lot of money. But was actually only worth about $270 at the time. Doesn't sound like a lot, and the scriptwriters probably didn't bother to find out what the exchange rate really was. It just sounded like a big number, so they used it. However, the $270 from 1941 would today be in the neighborhood of $50,000. So from that point of view, yeah, it was a lot of money. But beware, online currency converters can be tricky, especially over a long period of time, with wartime currencies that fluctuated greatly. And they don't always agree with each other. So these numbers can easily be a bunch of hooey.
Waiter.
Yes, madam?
Will you ask Rick if he'll have a drink with us?
Madam, he never drinks with customers. Never. I have never seen it.
Ah, Carl. Many viewers say how much they like Carl, which is no accident. Most of the characters he played were meant to be lovable, and usually somewhat befuddled. S.Z. Sakal is not his real name. In fact, it's not a name at all. It's confusing, but it's a corrupted transliteration of... It's Hungarian. I'm not even going to try. A Hungarian phrase meaning blonde beard. A nickname he earned in his younger days by wearing one to look older. He had an outstanding career, 108 films, in Hungary, Germany, and Austria, before crossing the Atlantic in 1940, again to escape you-know-who. Most of his family was murdered in the concentration camps. He appeared in 43 movies here before dying in 1955. The dramatic reveal. Rick in all his dinner-jacketed glory. Humphrey Bogart was, well, Humphrey Bogart. Usually played a hard-boiled cynic with a hidden noble side. Sometimes a cafe owner, sometimes an adventurer, sometimes, well, a lot of things. But always basically bogey. Only 81 movies from 1930 to 1956, but it feels like a lot more, since many of them were the most popular of the time. How can these reactors be so ignorant of one of the most popular actors ever? Not really related, but Bogart was quite a chess player.
This is outrageous. I shall report it to the Angriff.
The Angriff, The Attack, title of the chief German propaganda newspaper. Signor Ugarte, Peter Lorre. Born Laszlo Lowenstein in 1904 in the part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire that is now the Slovak Republic. I have the town names, but they are unpronounceable to English speakers. Began acting in Vienna in 1922 at age 17. He performed throughout the region, gradually adopting the stage name Peter Lorre. Was discovered by famed German film director Fritz Lang and cast as the psychopathic child killer in the classic film M in 1931. Shortly thereafter, the little guy with the funny mustache, no, not Charlie Chaplin, came on the scene, and Paris looked inviting. After one film, he headed for England and hooked up with Alfred Hitchcock. For a few years, he bounced back and forth between London and Hollywood, where he underwent treatment for a morphine addiction. Even though cured, he found it hard to find work, finally accepting the role of Mr. Moto, the Japanese secret agent. It paid off, since he starred in 8 more Moto films. Then came the 40s and his most memorable roles in Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon, both with Bogart and Sidney Greenstreet, as well as a comedic turn in Arsenic and Old Lace. The 50s weren't as kind, but he did have memorable roles in Around the World in 80 Days and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and a few roles in low-budget films and a number of television dramas in the early 60s, dying in 1964. Sidney Greenstreet as Signor Ferrari, Rick's supplier and competitor. A latecomer to the silver screen, he was 62 when he appeared in The Maltese Falcon, after a long and successful stage career in both the U.S. and Britain. He only appeared in 24 films, but 4 of them were with Humphrey Bogart, and 9 featured Peter Lorre. Warner Brothers knew what they had. Although only active for 8 years, he is easily one of the most recognized actors in film. And there's a story that his portrayal of Caspar Gutman, i.e. the Fat Man, in The Maltese Falcon, was at least partially an inspiration for Jabba the Hutt. It's easy to see why. And here's another 2-for-1. On the left, Madeleine Lebeau as Yvonne. Now, she was originally intended to be more of a love interest for Rick, but since much of Casablanca was written the day before the scene was shot, much of the story was quite fluid. Ilsa grew in importance, Yvonne shrank. The real reason I'm including her here is that at the time, in real life, she was married to Marcel Dalio, the uncredited croupier. Well, the marriage didn't last long. Leonid Kinsky as Sasha. Yes, really a Russian, born in 1903 in St. Petersburg. Over 130 film and television appearances, but you don't know who he is. Started in 1930, and for 8 or 9 years was a rarely credited background character, always a foreigner, often a crazy Russian, usually a comic role. His last role was in 1971, so none of these reactors were even born, so they probably have never seen him at all. I find his main claim to fame is turning down a role in Hogan's Heroes after appearing in the pilot, saying, The premise to me was both false and offensive. The Nazis were seldom dumb and never funny. Imagine that, sticking to principles. The other two heavy hitters, and this might take a while. Paul Henreid as Victor Laszlo, or more formally, Baron Paul Georg Julius Freiherr von Henreid Ritter von Wassel-Waldengo, son of Baron Karl Alphonse Henreid, banker and financial advisor to Emperor Franz Joseph. Let's parse that name. Freiherr basically means baron, and Ritter means knight. So he's doubly noble, or would be if the Austria-Hungarian Empire still existed, for him to be a baron or knight of. Such is life. His first major Hollywood film was Goodbye, Mr. Chips, in 1939. After that, his career was largely up and down, a few gems, a few stinkers, and a great number in between. Like many actors of his generation, movie roles began to dry up as he approached 50. Television to the rescue! Not only did he spend the last 20 or so years of his career on the small screen, but he made a successful transition to behind the camera, directing episodes of over 40 television programs. Ingrid Bergman as Ilse Lund. Like Bogart, how can anyone call themselves a movie fan without knowing about Ingrid Bergman? Her life story could almost be a movie in itself. She was the subject of 2 documentaries, but nothing approaching a dramatization of her life. Born in 1915, her mother died when she was 2, and her father when she was 12. These ages vary from source to source. She lived with an uncle who, fortunately, supported her dream of being an actor. She briefly studied acting, but didn't like stage acting. She managed to find a few small movie roles until 1935, when she got her first speaking role as a character named Elsa Edlund. Elsa Edlund. Ilse Lund. Later that year, she appeared in Intermezzo, the original Swedish version, which was seen by famous movie producer David O. Selznick. He bought the rights to the film, signed Bergman to a contract, and spirited her off to Hollywood. The American version of Intermezzo came out in 1939, and the rest, as they say far too often, is history. Her personal life was, as I said before, could be its own movie. 3 husbands, 2 lovers, an illegitimate child, and hounded from the country by conservative politicians. She returned to Hollywood in 1956, promptly winning an Oscar for Anastasia. Appeared in many classic films, and many that were merely great, ending up with 3 Oscars overall. She died in 1982, 3 weeks before the Emmy ceremony, awarding her Best Actress for A Woman Called Golda. I hadn't intended to get into full biographies of the cast, but on occasion their background played a big part in their development.
2 Cointreaus, please. Quel monsieur?
Cointreau is a hoity-toity orange liqueur, if you're wondering.
The ring is quite unique.
Again, the Cross of Lorraine. This guy must be in the Resistance. As time goes by, it has a history of its own. There was a musician strike in 1942, so Wilson could not record an official version of the song, nor could Warner's release it, even if it had existed. A couple of record labels released old versions recorded some years earlier, So Rudy Valley ended up with a #1 hit that really had nothing to do with the movie. For all you YouTube children, Rudy Valley was an extremely popular singer bandleader of the period. Ask your grandparents. And since 1999, Warner Brothers has incorporated it into the opening logo of most of its movies.
Let's see, the last time we met
Was La Belle Aurore.
How nice you remembered.
La Belle Aurore is more important to the story than most people realize. I'll get into it during the upcoming flashback.
Sam.
Yes, boss.
It's December 1941 in Casablanca. What time is it in New York? I bet they're asleep all over America.
This scene must be taking place between the 1st and 6th of December, which makes the line, "I bet they're asleep all over America," especially meaningful. December 7th, the world changed.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
Blue screen, later green screen, was such an improvement over rear projection. This is edited down from a Wikipedia article. In the summer of 1938, while on vacation from his job as English teacher at a vocational school, Murray Burnett and his wife visited Cap Ferrat, a small town in the south of France, where they went to La Belle Aurore, meaning the beautiful dawn, quote, a seedy cafe, unquote, overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. A black pianist played jazz for a crowd of French, German military, and refugees. In the play, the scene became the basis of Rick's Café Américain in Casablanca. Then, in the movie, it was transferred to the Paris flashback, while Rick's became a more reputable establishment. The point is, while the dialogue is, of course, made up, the setting was fairly accurate and an homage to the cafe, the play, and the playwright. Nicely done. Today, Cap Ferret, more properly Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferret, is an extremely exclusive area on the Riviera, halfway between Nice and the Principality of Monaco. In 2012, it was named the second most expensive residential location in the world, a far cry from 1938. If you're interested, the most expensive was its neighbor, Monaco. Also in 2012, Sotheby's sold this piano for $602,500.
Did they say how long ago that was? Because he says it's 1941, but when did, I guess, 1939?
Something like that?
Presumably?
I don't know the European timeline for World War II as well as I should know.
Your parents would have learned all this stuff in school, but by the time you got there, it was ancient history and probably glossed over. The start of World War II is traditionally considered to be Germany's invasion of Poland on September 1st, 1939. The German army occupied Paris on June 10th, 1940. The today in the film, in Rick's own words, is December 1941. Obviously between the 1st and 6th, since there's no indication Pearl Harbor happened yet. Totally irrelevant, but mildly interesting, there is a computer font based on this note, available from various sources. Now that we finally have all the backstory and exposition we need, this seems like a good place to insert a little special feature. Every movie has its memorable lines, some better than others, some truly iconic. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I could have been a contender. I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. And the like. But Casablanca probably holds the title for the movie with the most memorable iconic lines. Here's a small collection, along with a few honorable mentions.
This is one of the movies that I've mentioned before where I get confused because I've heard the lines, like the famous lines from a couple of old films, and I don't know which one's which. I still don't know. You've explained this to me, and I still get confused.
I know, it's okay.
And the lines I was talking about is like what is it? Here's looking at you, kid. We'll always have Paris.
Okay.
And frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Like, I've heard of these three phrases referenced a million times. I just don't know which one's which from movie wise.
Here's looking at you, kid.
I feel like I've heard that before. Do people quote this movie, quote that line?
Here's looking at you, kid.
Another iconic line.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Cute.
Here's looking at you, kid.
I've heard that line too.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that one too.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
I've heard that quote. Wow.
Of all the gin joints, she walks into mine.
I've heard that before.
Oh, that's from here. Okay.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
I've heard that before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, a lot of lines from this movie you recognize.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
I didn't know that line was from this movie too. Aw. Honestly.
We'll always have Paris.
Oh.
I'd stick my neck out for nobody. My eye's really brown.
Okay.
This gun is pointed right at your heart. My least vulnerable spot.
He's got some good lines.
He really does.
Yes, he does. I've posted a whole video of Louis' scenes. Link in the description, of course. And the most misquoted line in cinematic history.
Played it for her, you play it for me.
Well, I don't think I can remember.
If she can stand it, I can. Play it.
The popular rendition of Play It Again, Sam, is from the title of a 1969 play and 1972 movie by Woody Allen. Now, let's get back and watch the plot thicken.
I'm a poor businessman.
I guess there was a little more backstory. Now that we know all the characters and have all the plot elements in place, you can just sit back and watch most of this without me. But not here. The lawyers won't let me show much of the film without adding value. Commenting on it. If there's anything needing explaining, I'll be here. There are scenes coming up that could be reacted to, but that's not what I'm here for. There's still some that I can add 2 cents to. However, the rest is mainly your basic 1940s cinema, so we can just kind of skim through it. Up until the end, that is.
Ich bin schon hier, Herr Leuchtag. Ich habe den feinsten Cognac gebracht. Trinken nur die Angestellten. Thank you, Karl. Für Frau Leuchtag.
Thank you, Carl.
Und für Herrn Leuchtag.
Carl, sit down.
Have a brandy with us.
To celebrate our leaving for America tomorrow.
Oh, thank you very much. I thought you would ask me, so I brought the good brandy. And a third glass.
At last the days came.
Well, Reichstag and I are speaking nothing but English now.
So we should feel at home when we get to America.
A very nice idea.
To America.
To America.
To America.
Liebchen, sweetness out. What watch?
10 watts.
Such much?
You will get along beautifully in America.
A cute little bit of comic relief. I had to leave it in. The subplot with the young Bulgarian couple doesn't seem like it has anything to do with the story. And it doesn't directly. However, as it unfolds, it allows that noble side of Rick I mentioned to start shining through. The drama is going to really start building now.
Laszlo's presence in a cafe can inspire this unfortunate demonstration. What more will his presence in Casablanca bring on? The place is to be closed.
But I've no excuse to close it.
Find one.
And then?
It wasn't long after we were married that Victor went back to Czechoslovakia. They needed him in Prague, but there the Gestapo were waiting for him. Just a 2-line item in the paper, Victor Laszlo apprehended, sent to concentration camp. I was frantic. For months I tried to get word. Then it came. He was dead, shot, trying to escape. I was lonely. I had nothing, not even hope. Then I met you.
Why weren't you honest with me? Why did you keep your marriage a secret?
It wasn't my secret, Richard. Victor wanted it that way. Not even our closest friends knew about our marriage. That was his way of protecting me. I knew so much about his work, and if the Gestapo found out I was his wife, it would be dangerous for me and for those working with us.
And when did you first find out he was alive?
Just before you and I were to leave Paris together, a friend came and told me that Victor was alive. They were hiding him in a freight car in the outskirts of Paris. He was sick. He needed me. I wanted to tell you, but I didn't dare. I knew you wouldn't have left Paris and the Gestapo would have caught you, so well, you know the rest.
I was wrong. Still more backstory. Maybe now we know everything?
Can go to America. You're a lucky man.
Oh, by the way, my agreement with Sam has always been that he gets 25% of the profits. That still goes.
I happen to know he gets 10%, but he's worth 25.
And Abdul, Carl, and Sasha, they stay with the place or I don't sell.
Of course they stay. Ricks wouldn't be Ricks without them.
Well, so long. And don't forget you owe Rick's a 100 carton of American cigarettes.
I should remember to pay it to myself.
Another small comic touch. I love how that sign runs out of room.
You know, this place will never be the same without you, Ricky.
Yes, I know what you mean, but I've already spoken to Ferrari. You'll still win at roulette.
Is everything ready?
Have the letters right here.
Tell me, when we searched the place, where were they?
Sam's piano.
Serves me right for not being musical. Have you taken leave of your senses?
I have. Sit down over there.
Put that gun down.
Louis, I wouldn't like to shoot you, but I will if you take one more step.
Under the circumstances, I will sit down.
The entire airport scene is a classic, and almost all the dialogue is iconic. A fantastic ending to a fantastic movie.
That'll make it even more official.
You think of everything, don't you?
And the names are Mr. and Mrs. Victor Laszlo.
But why my name, Richard?
Because you're getting on that plane.
I don't understand. What about you?
I'm staying here with him till the plane gets safely away.
No, Richard, no. What has happened to you? Last night
Last night we said a great many things. You said I was to do the thinking for both of us. Well, I've done a lot of it since then. It all adds up to one thing. You're getting on that plane with Victor where you belong.
But, Richard, no,
Now, you've got to listen to me.
There's a great speech here. But again, there's this guy.
If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
But what about us?
We'll always have Paris. We didn't have, we lost it until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night.
When I said I would never leave you.
And you never will. But I've got a job to do, too. Where I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't be any part of. Ilsa, I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Someday you'll understand that. Now. He's looking at you, kid. Here it is.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And welcome back to the fight. This time I know our side will win.
Get away from that phone.
I would advise you not to interfere.
I was willing to shoot Captain Renault, and I'm willing to shoot you. Hello. Put that phone down.
Get me the radio tower.
Put it down.
You could almost hear the entire theater cheering.
Maybe, but it seemed like a good time to start.
I think perhaps you're right.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
And that, my friends, is what you need to know about Casablanca. Hopefully, now that you understand more of the world of that time, you can enjoy it even more. But remember, this is a work of fiction, no matter how realistic it looks. And there are a couple of major historical errors in the movie. First, there were no German troops stationed in Morocco. Second, and maybe more important, there's no such thing as letters of transit. Exit visas, yes, but no letters of transit. And even if there were, how they were described in the film makes no sense. Why were German couriers carrying French documents signed by Charles de Gaulle? De Gaulle was the self-appointed leader of the Free French and was declared a traitor by the Vichy government and sentenced to death. A plot hole big enough to drop Sidney Greenstreet in through. And Louis's title and areas of authority are very vague and confusing. But the French government is also very vague and confusing, and much like many things French, incomprehensible to outsiders. Let's just chalk it up to the willing suspension of disbelief. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hope to see you again sometime.